In this video, I will tell you about the layer features in AutoCAD. Previously, we always worked with line types. Now, what kind of an advantage would creating multiple layers in a project grant us? And what does this layer mean? Let's get into it. When working on a project like this, for example, there are many different objects here like couch and wall. It's easier to manage them by dividing each of them into categories. Here, we can create layers on our objects in the layer section. For example, we have a light bulb in the chairs section. When I click it, I can hide all the chairs on the screen. They're still here in the project, but we just hide them. So it's easier to do all of this from one single panel. For example, here I can click the lock button in order to prevent these objects from being edited. When you hover it, you see a lock. It prevents accidental editing. We can change all of their colors in one single window. Here you can see it uses the yellow cyan. We can select red and color all the chairs red. Layers provide us with these advantages. So how do we create layers and how do we manage them? When we create layer properties, we see an interface. Here, a browser window opens. Here, we can create a new layer by clicking New Layer. What could it be? I created a line type under the name Accent. I'm sorry, it's a layer. Again, let's call this one Görünmez, invisible. Look, layer 0 is always seen as the main layer. So every object we draw on this layer will be processed as 0. I put some of my drawings into the Accent category, others into the Görünmez, invisible category. You can create new categories here. Wall, window. We can create new layers like this. So how do we customize them? We can use the color section here to color them. For example, we can make the accent lines blue. The invisible lines will be red. Again, we can create the center lines with center, and we can also assign new line types into the invisible lines. We made them hidden. This line type is usually used in technical drawings, so they're the lines in the background. Here we can select the line weights. When we print them, the main line should be 0.30 thick. The others can be 0.05. We can set their line weights like this. If we want, we can make them transparent. We can turn off their printing sections. I can pull this window here and there are more objects. It says new VP here. We can make them all visible. We did it now. Here, I can make it so that none of the invisible lines are printed. I turn off plot. And even if it appears on the screen, when I print it, it doesn't appear on the screen. So we can do it this way. So now how do we manage these objects here? We can select any layer from the section located up here. And here, as you can see, we can form new lines. New lines with the properties of the layers I just created. For example, we can draw with the invisible lines. When I click another line, you can see that it is a dashed line. I go back into the 0 layer. Now, if I select any object and change the layer here while it's still selected, you can see that the layer has changed. But there's a difference. We previously assigned a color to this here. When we set this to by layer, it will start using the layer's colors. If I want, I can make this line. You can see it says by layer here because it's blue, because we defined it this way. We can make it yellow to have it in a different color. So we can select all of them and select by layer in order to turn them back into their own layer colors. So we removed the special color here. It goes back to what it says on the layer. We can use the tools located down here to make some adjustments. For example, let's turn off the layer here. When I want to turn it off, I make it invisible. Look, I turned off the light bulb here. This is the one named X-axis. I can turn it back on here. What are the differences? In the light bulb, the object becomes invisible. When you use the lock, it locks the object and prevents it from being edited. When you click the sun, then it both makes it invisible and prevents it from being edited. Here, when we turn off the lamp, it will be invisible, but we can select it with Ctrl and A again. So we might also edit it. To go on, we have many tools. The isolate feature can be used. For example, we can isolate this layer by pressing Enter here. It turns off all other objects with only this layer being visible. Here, I can work more comfortably on my project. I can use the isolate features to isolate our objects as well. We can just select the objects and isolate them. This is object isolate, the other is layer isolate. We'll use layer isolate here, so we turn only the layers off and on. Here, the unisolate command can be used in order to turn them all back on. Right above, we have the freeze command. We can use it in order to freeze an object and unfreeze it with the unfreeze command. We have the lock feature. We can lock and unlock them. In this video, we told you about the layer features in AutoCAD. We hope to see you in the next video.